Welcome back to Inner Peace Better Health. I'm your host Shreya. Today's guest is Chris Marhefka, a transformative coach whose path from burnout to breathwork is not short of radical rebirth. Once a high performing entrepreneur chasing success at any cost, Chris now helps others to slow down, tune in, and live from a place of deep embodied truth. His story is about more than healing, it's about homecoming. Welcome, Chris. I'm honored to have you on my show.
Thank you, Shreya. So glad to be here.
Thank you, thank you. And Krish, you lived the so-called dream that financial freedom, business wins, yet something felt deeply off. So, what was the breaking point where you realized that this isn't working?
Mm, yeah, great question. I was sitting down with my journal on my 30th birthday, and
Okay.
this was in 2015. And every year I used to set goals of what I wanted to achieve and accomplish. And I would look back on the previous year. And on this special year, it was a milestone year for me, 30 years old. I looked back at all these spreadsheets I'd been tracking, all my goals, and I hit so many of them, and I had checked all the boxes of all the things that I said I wanted to do in my life by the time I was 30. And from the outside looking in, I had a very good life. I had a very successful life. And yet inside, I felt empty. I did not feel fulfilled. In fact, I felt like there was this gaping hole that no matter how many goals I set, no matter how many achievements, it just wasn't going to be enough to fill this. And so that was my first moment where I started questioning, questioning like, what is this life really about? How do I want to spend it? Um, and then fast forward to just 3 months later, I had a uh, life trajectory shifting event happened to me. I was in a CrossFit competition. It was a very intense workout, and I had a stress-induced brain injury where it felt like a grenade went off in my head. And this basically uh, just stopped the train altogether of the life that I was living. And so, just 3 months previous, I had started questioning it, and then this happened, and it really challenged all of the beliefs that I had around what I wanted life to look like. And for the first time at 30 years old, I realized the reality of my mortality, and I was in fear. Actually, I was in
Yeah.
fear because the one thing that I hadn't really been listening to was my body and my health. And despite being a health coach and owning a gym and owning a healthy meal delivery company and all working in this space, I wasn't following my own advice. And I was literally uh, laid up for months, really up to 7 months, healing and recovering from this, and realizing that um, not only was this unsustainable, but I didn't really want to be
Yeah.
living this life, continuing to live unfulfilled and um, feeling like I was living for others instead of myself.
Yeah. That's so wonderful. And I think so many of us really chase success and only find it empty. But it is what breaks beneath the winds that often wakes up. And thank you for sharing your truth. And you also talk a lot about breathe and presence. So, why are they so central in your healing approach?
Hmm. Yeah. Well, if we could go really like spiritual, there really isn't anything besides the moment right now. The past has already happened and it's gone and it's never going to happen again. And the future has not yet happened.
Yeah.
And so, really, the only reality we have is the moment that we have right now. And so, we can waste that moment by thinking about, worrying about, or thinking about and spinning in the past and therefore recreating it, or we can waste the moment by worrying about a future moment that's not even here yet. But in reality, uh, that's happening right near how right here and now, this moment
Yes.
right here. The only thing we can do is engage with this moment or not. We can be distracted from it, or we can be present with it. And so, like the fundamental baseline of like healing and growth and transformation is learning to be more present with this moment right now, learning to live in the right now and accept the past for what it is,
Mm.
and do our best to create and manifest the future that we want. But ultimately, the only place we live is here,
Yeah.
right here and now. So
That's so true, and that's so beautiful the way you explained it. And also, how did breath work shift the way you related to your own body and emotion?
mm, yeah, I started yeah, breath work, just the whole learning around breath being this thing that obviously we all do all the time. It keeps us alive. And breath is one of the very unique and strange bodily functions that can be both conscious or unconscious. Unconscious meaning it's going to happen just to keep us alive. Even if we don't think about it, we're going to breathe. But conscious breath and intentionally regulating the quality and the depth of your breath is the thing. It's the gift. It's the key that we were given to help regulate our nervous system, our calm system, what makes us overwhelmed or what brings us back to peace and stillness. And so I started diving into the world of like intentional breath actually when I was an athlete. I was a long distance runner and endurance athlete. And so one of my running coaches actually introduced me to it as a way to relax while in these very difficult long endurance races, because when you're relaxed you're burning less energy, you're able to be more aware of your steps and more aware of your body and what's happening, and ultimately from a performance standpoint, when you're relaxed you actually can perform better. And so my introduction was just that, and then I started getting into more breath work that will change your state of consciousness. And for me that was mind blowing to be able to, without drugs, without psychedelics, be able to connect to a much deeper part of myself just with my breath alone, this like free tool that was given to all of
Yeah.
us from birth. And so my breath journey has been well over a decade now of just experimenting with all these different modalities. And it's no coincidence that most ancient practices have breath as the foundation of it.
Mm.
Like all of them have breath incorporated as an important aspect of it, breath and awareness.
Yeah.
And so it's one of the first things that I teach in all the work that I do is like how to be more conscious with our breath.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. That breath is something that is always with us, but yet we forget that it's one of our deepest healers. So thank
Mhm.
you for reminding us it again. And
Mhm.
many people want peace, but resist slowing it down. So what keeps us stuck into that go, go, go mode, and even when it's hurting us?
Mm. Yeah, it's such a great question. And I think if your listeners are even asking the question, they're at a level of awareness that many people aren't.
Yeah.
And many people are stuck in a pattern of doing because they feel like they need to get to a certain place or be something that they're not today. That's one of the logical fallacies that keep people stuck, is that they're not good enough as they are right now, so they have to do something or be something to be something that they're not. And just by having that belief, it drives us to keep doing, to be this for future version or this version that we're not right now. And so coming to a place with the breath and with relaxation and with presence to start to believe that you're good enough as you are right now will um, give you more and more permission to slow down and to stop searching and to stop um, uh, stop looking for something that will make you complete and whole because you already are. And that's like it's not a secret, but it's new for a lot of people. And once we start having more and more awareness to that fact that we are whole and perfect as we are, there's less of a fear or a impulse to go do all these things to prove to ourselves or to prove to others. And I think the inner peace goes hand in hand. It's like, which one comes first, the inner peace or the slowing down? And
Yeah.
they're intertwined together. And so if you don't have the inner peace that you desire in your life, the first requirement is to force yourself in a way to slow down. One of the things that I quote unquote prescribe to a lot of my clients is spending more time in nature, because nature moves at a much slower pace than the human mind. And so it almost forces us to regulate to that peace that nature just operates at. And another one that's a prescription that I always give is getting off of technology, getting off of social media, having boundaries around how you use it, because the pace of that is infinitely fast. And if
Yes.
we're always in a screen, if we're always in scrolling and off to the next thing, there's no stillness in our life. And so finding a time when your mind can just be still, for a lot of people, that's meditation. You can even just take a walk in nature. Uh, you can just sit and watch the birds, watch the
Yeah.
sunset. Like, these are all different forms of finding more stillness in our life. And unquestionably, everyone who actually commits to more stillness and silence will find more peace. They will. And for some people it may take longer than others. There's a funny like quote about meditation,
Mm.
and they say that like everyone should meditate for 10 minutes every day. And if you think 10 minutes is too long, you need to meditate for an hour, something like that. So it's like, that's the prescription, is if you think that you don't have 10 minutes to be in stillness, you actually need an hour because you're overwhelmed.
That's so wonderful, and the practices that you have shared are so beautiful. I think that will help my listeners too. And what is one gentle way someone listening right now could begin reconnecting to their stillness?
Mm. The first requirement is to turn off the distractions that are
Mm.
impeding your stillness first. And when we turn off those, the the all the inputs,
Yeah.
think of anything as an input, as a distraction from our inner knowing, our inner listening. So anything that's coming in, we have to put on pause for a moment. It's a requirement of the stillness. And when we pause all those things, oftentimes it helps to even close our eyes, because our eyes can be distractions. Just like there's a million things happening around us and they can always grab our awareness. So closing our eyes and simply just tuning your awareness to your breath is a good place to start. Just watching yourself breathe, listening to yourself breathe, feeling yourself breathe. And what will happen for everyone when they do this for the first time, or for the first 1,000 times, is the you'll start to observe the pace of your thoughts, and you'll start to observe all the stories that are happening. And it takes a lot of time and practice for those to start settling down, but that practice is worth it. It always works, but you have to do it more and more. Because I mean, I'll tell you, the first time I meditated, all I saw was every other moment, I would try to get my awareness to stillness, but then I would get taken for a ride by my thoughts and my stories. And so I have to keep coming back and keep coming back and keep coming back over and over again, until I could just sit and observe all that was happening inside of me, the sensations, the emotions, the thoughts. And
Yeah.
I could just sit and I could just neutrally observe them. And the material benefit to that, if you could talk about ROI, is that when you're able to do that, you're able to also observe the world.
Yeah.
you can observe other people's actions with neutrality, and you cannot let you can be in a place where all these external stimuluses don't actually control you anymore. And so you can engage consciously with your phone and with podcasts and with social media. You can engage consciously with other people without getting taken for a ride with every conversation, letting your triggers, your emotional triggers, um, take take you, and then you lose yourself for minutes or hours or weeks even when people get it's my daughter.
Yes, yes.
Talking about beautiful distractions. um yeah, that's a beautiful one. Children are a beautiful one that
Yes,
bring us
yes,
back to presence. They're a good distraction. They bring us
yes.
back to what really matters. So not all distractions are bad, that's for sure.
And this is so true that I think there are very accessible things that we can do, like breathing and being in nature, but still we just forget and we just keep scrolling our phone. But I think after this, my listener get a reminder that okay, you have to focus on this. And also, you walked away from your business and relationship to realign with your truth. So that takes a lot of courage.
Mm,
How do you guide others through the fear of letting go?
mm, uh, really good question. And to be like clear and and humble, I wouldn't have said that I walked away for my inner truth at the time. I walked away out of survival. I felt like I was in a cage of my own making. And so I had so much stress and so much burden in my life that it felt like it felt like the only way I could get out of it was to let it all go. And looking back, that might have been true, may not have been true, but that's just a place I was so overwhelmed that I feel like I had to let things go for pure survival. I had enough like pain in my life. I had enough physical pain, emotional pain, mental pain, that it felt like I was just at a breaking point. That was my rock bottom. That was between the physical injury and then the separation with my wife and eventual divorce, that period of time was my rock bottom. That was I had to go to that level of pain so that I would actually make a change in my life. And um, letting go of things that I once cared about. I didn't have a reference point for that because I cared deeply about my clients and the businesses I'd created and the employees that worked for me. And I cared deeply about my ex-wife, and I cared deeply about um, all the relationships that I had built in my life. And so it absolutely was not easy. It was not easy. And I didn't know what was on the other side. That I think is where it is courageous for all people that decide to have a death and rebirth in a way, is that you oftentimes won't know what's next. In fact, I think always, I think that's part of it, is there is always a point where a leap of faith needs to be made. And I got to that leap of faith through, again, that the pain teacher. And then also, as I started to reconnect or connect for the first time with a higher power, intelligence, and understanding that was further than my own, it was like I could finally trust that I didn't have to hold tightly to the reins of my life to try to control every minutia of it. I could actually trust that there was a greater plan, that maybe if I relaxed my grip just a little bit, I would start to see. And what happened was, over time, it didn't all come in at once, but when I did relax, when I did healing work, and when I had mentors and they guided me through, I would have moments of peace. And then in those moments of peace, new clarity would arise that wasn't there before when I was in
Mm.
turmoil. So it's almost like a step by step ABCD process where you're not going to get clarity on the next thing when you're in turmoil of the past thing or the old thing. And so you have to work your way through all of the attachments of the past
Mm.
if you want to open up the future. And so I think it's a courageous undertaking for anyone to let go of something when they don't know when something is next. Ultimately, I think we're individually the only ones that can make that decision for ourselves. No one in my life at that point understood my decisions. And I
Yeah.
don't blame them. It looked
Mm,
crazy from the outside looking in. It looked
mm,
insane. And I get that. I understand that. And yet,
yeah.
it was the first time in my life that I had enough inner connection and inner knowing that
Mm,
I knew that no matter what came next, it was going to be my decision and it was going to be right for me, whether I
mhm,
knew what that right was or not. And you know, looking back, I um, all of the greatest challenges turn out to be the greatest gifts. At least
yeah.
that's my perspective. And they've led me to where I am today. And I'm extremely fulfilled with that. And so I can't judge the way things went. Like looking back with more intelligence, more knowledge, more wisdom is like, yeah, I probably could have done it a
Yeah.
little more gently, a little softer, like more, yeah. But I didn't have it then. And so it got me here anyways. And you know, that means that sometimes in our journey, there's people that are hurt along the way. There's ways that we don't deliver things the kindest way or the best, more most generous way. And you know that's going to happen. The alternative is if we never look at it, we're the
Yeah.
ones that get hurt. We're the ones that carry the
Mm,
pain. And that's what was happening for me is my fear of making a decision that may hurt another person was keeping me hurting myself. And yeah, and looking back, you know, again, I am so grateful for mentors and guides and people that were steps ahead of me in my journey to help support me on that. Because with their help, they were giving me a more elevated or
yeah.
a more conscious perspective that I didn't have yet. And I really credit a lot of my teachers and my mentors to helping me get through that time because it's dark and it's lonely.
Mm,
And if anyone's listening going through that, I fully understand because it's scary and there's so much unknown. It's like you walk into the fire not knowing if the phoenix is going to rise out of it.
yes, yes, yes. That's so beautiful how you explain everything. And it's really need courage to take that really big step. And I think after this, my listeners will also get help if they want to do something like that. And you have said that healing doesn't mean we stop being ambitious. So
Mhm.
it means we root in authenticity. What does the balance look like in your life?
Mm. Oh, such a great question. Yeah, that's something that I really firmly believe in is that uh, the drive doesn't stop when we find peace. In fact, for me, it just came from a different place. It used to come from fear of not being good enough, not achieving these things, not being seen in a certain light from other people. And that's how it used to be for me. And so I was like driving myself to outrun that fear. And now it honestly, it comes from a place of moving towards something, like moving towards service, helping others, knowing that everyone has the best version of themselves that they can move towards in their own life. And knowing that I have a set of tools and experience that can help them get there, it's like I can't not serve. I can't not like do this podcast and do the programs that I do and like lead as a coach because I just it's like a giving back in a way for this all the amazing gifts and blessings that are in my life. And I really believe that is that I think that's the unspoken about gift of healing work and getting to a place of self-love and self appreciation and acceptance is that you and gratitude is
Yeah.
that now you get to give it back. You get to pass it on. You get to vibrate that out to everyone else. And yeah, it's like it's drive coming from a whole new place. And also really believing that there's a more beautiful world for all of us. And just completely orienting towards that and always attempting to align my thoughts, my words, and action with what I believe that more beautiful world can be for people. And so, yeah, the drive definitely does not stop. But what does change for me and I teach this a lot. I teach about core values and guiding principles and getting clear on priorities is coming to a place to where you know what is deeply important to you and putting those things first. And it's not because it's not because things aren't necessarily more or less important, but they are more or less important to me. Like I'll give an example. With my health crisis, I realized that in really fully in my body realized that if I don't have my health, I don't have anything. I can't be a
Yes.
good husband. I can't be a good father. I can't be a good business owner. I can't be a good coach if I don't have my health, because that's always going to be in my awareness. I'm always going to be worrying about it. And so for me, that's important. Another one now um, is my partnership and my
Yeah.
family, my child. If I get goosebumps. If things aren't good with them, it doesn't matter how good I am on a podcast or how good I am serving my clients, because that would wreck me. Like if that isn't solid in my life. And then same thing, likewise, my relationship with a higher power. I've found that when that relationship is not cared for, the other things matter less because I'm following more of an egoic pursuit, like a selfish pursuit. If I don't have a connection to a more beautiful, true world, like a deeper mission, then I'm just doing things for me. And that
Yeah.
doesn't feel good either. So it's like in some sort of order of like higher power, taking care of self, taking care of our partners and our families and those we care about most, and then serving from that place. And so for me, it's about priorities. Definitely um, both a blessing, uh, a blessing and a challenge is that with those priorities, there's less attention to do all of the things. And so back in the day, I would just work nonstop, and my success was fueled on just the fact that I was just working harder than everyone. And now I don't have that luxury. And that's actually a gift because
Yeah.
it forces me to prioritize where I can serve the best and the most. And I can't just do everything. And so it's actually a gift that happens. Unfortunately, I had to get served that in the way of a health crisis and an emotional dark night of the soul and like but grateful for it because that got me to this place of understanding what's truly important.
Yeah. Yeah. And true ambition doesn't disappear through healing, it just roots us. And this is so beautiful. And this conversation with you, I think, is it's very enlightening for my listeners also. So if after this my listeners want to connect with you, then what's the best way?
Yeah, the best way to find me is on my site, my website, chrismarhefka.com. It's CHRISMARHEFKA.com. And that has all the programs that I'm doing. They can join my newsletter, all that stuff. So
And I'll make sure to attach all the details and links below so that my listeners can find them easily and get in touch with you. And with that, we have come to the end of the show. And to my listeners, Chris Marhefka's journey is a mirror to anyone chasing life outside of themselves. True power doesn't come from pushing harder, it comes from pausing, breathing, and meeting yourself with presence. If you are ready to reclaim peace, start by exhaling. Until next time, choose presence over pressure, and because that's where we healing begins.